Hello, everybody. My name is Chelsea. I work as a marketing director for Elizabeth Chee, who works with Century 21, and we are located in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. On our team, we have Ellie as our primary sales agent. We also have two operations or admin people and myself as the marketing director.
Very good. Thank you for your time, Chelsea. I appreciate you being on this video. So first question for you, you may not remember, but how did you originally hear about Kee Technology?
Well, we actually heard about you through a referral from Alexa Rosario. We were I was reaching out to her for her client funnel systems, mentioned we were also looking at moving over to Follow Up Boss, changing our CRM, and she recommended your name first. And then also when I was interviewing and getting in touch with people at Follow Up Boss, they also recommended your name. And I thought, okay, well, this seems to be, two people who are very trusted resources. Obviously, if they're both recommending your name, they're doing it for a reason. And so when I further went down the path and checked out your website, I could see that you were very clear and concise in what your system was all about. There was no guesswork in terms of, what mystery things lay beneath the hood. So it was a very easy decision for us.
That's so cool to hear. So whenever you decided to work with us, had you been using Follow Up Boss before you hired us, or did you kind of do both at the same time?
So we had not started using Follow Up Boss before starting to work with you. We actually only pulled the trigger to work with Follow Up Boss because we knew we had someone like you in place to build out the system for us. That was kind of an area that we had run into some challenges in the past with different CRMs that we were trying out, was that either the systems were too complicated and it seemed we needed to have a degree how to run these CRMs, or we had to build the systems ourselves, which left a lot of loopholes because that wasn't necessarily what we did all day, every day. So we only signed on with Follow Up Boss because we knew we had someone like you in place to plug us into a system that we could just follow without having to think.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, so I'm curious, like you mentioned that you were referred to us by Alexa and by Follow Up Boss, and that you saw some more information. But what ultimately led you to decide, okay, we'll go ahead and hire Kee Technology?
Well, for me, it was when I looked at your website, I believe there's like an example of what's inside of the system. And having had to build out some of the systems myself in our previous attempts at using a CRM, I could see your thought process and that I could see how clear it was and that you knew what you were doing just because of everything that I could see laid out there. And so that gave me a great deal of peace of mind. And I think for Ellie, it was the fact that, we had a couple of people who referred us and that she wanted to move forward with Follow Up Boss itself because she had heard of the system being so great. And so that combination of just, okay, we trust this person knows what they're doing, so we're happy to move ahead with them.
Oh, very good, very good. So on that topic of you went ahead and pulled the trigger and hired us, can you expand a little bit more about what we did in your Follow Up Boss account?
Sure. Well, we had the complete revamp. I guess we'd kind of be building it up from scratch. And gosh, it was a few months ago now, so I'll try to remember all of the process. But essentially, it's kind of like we had the body of the vehicle, but you guys put in the engine, and we just had to jump into the driver's seat. It was a lot. You plugged in all of the follow-up automations for us. You created a system for follow-up. You gave us a training library so that we could easily have everybody integrate, and that also included refreshing ourselves on what something meant. There was a very clear set of definitions so that personally, as the marketing director, I really appreciated it because I didn't have to be the system anymore and have to be the one that knew how everything went. Where this case, we could always refer to the cheat sheet that you provided, supported by the training library. And then, should we need further clarification, we had your team members who were able to support us. So we basically got the engine to run the machine so that we could just step in there and get going and know exactly who we needed to start calling. You helped us to transfer over all our existing database from our previous CRMs and kind of get them cleaned up so that we could move them in kind of seamlessly into your system. And really the whole process was very seamless. And I have so much gratitude to you for that because I really was dreading moving to another CRM.
Yeah, yes, no small feat. And I know that's a big fear people have is they may not be using their current CRM now, but it can feel like a huge undertaking of moving an entire database from one CRM to another. And then not only that, but having to learn this new CRM from scratch, and you're starting from zero. So whenever either when we initially finished or after you had been using it for a while, what results did you see? You had mentioned like you started making calls. How did you find that process of the smart lists for you and your team?
Well, as the marketing director, I'm not the one directly making calls, but what I can say is that, working with my agent, it was a lot easier for her to make the calls because she was clear on what it was that she was supposed to do. She knew that she needed to check her inbox. She needed to start with list number 1, then list number 2, then list number 3, and just keep going through the process. And it was also very easy, for us to all kind of keep each other accountable because, we can see when somebody was last contacted. And so it was easy to keep moving those numbers through. So in that regard, I would say that the friction was reduced quite a lot between when a lead would come in through our marketing efforts and knowing how and when to follow up with them, because that was always the thing that we got stuck on before, is that, okay, we see this person is new, but we don't know, did we contact them already? And we have hundreds of people that we need to touch base with every day or every week. And like people would just fall through the cracks. But this system that you set up for us, without us having to really understand how the engine works, we know that it works as long as we follow your system. And that helps to we don't have to spend so much brain energy trying to figure out who do we call now and who do we call next. And it's easy to see and keep accountable on what needs to be done because we just look for zeros next to those smart lists that you made. So it's less friction. So I guess in a big way, the big result that we got is that it's just less energy spent just trying to figure out what do we do next.
Yeah. I love that about the smart list. Is very transparent. So you know exactly what you need to do. And if you have someone you're trying to keep accountable, you can see exactly when the last communication was, like you said, and it's easy to have those conversations with your ISA or your agents making calls. And then in terms of like the automated drips, have you seen any sort of responses from leads, either from like brand new leads coming in or from nurturing? Like, have you seen anybody responding to those emails?
I'll be honest with you, some of the longer term nurture I haven't examined as closely, but I do know for the new leads that come in, it is very helpful to have that quick response first via text and via email for those new leads that come into our system. So that I have seen, we've gotten responses right away. The text messages, they'll reply and say, oh yeah, I'll be free this afternoon or whatever. So in that regard, responding to those initial drips when they first come in, that has been huge for us.
That's awesome. So after we finish the setup of the automations, the lists and the build out, and then give you our video training library, what was our support like after we finished?
Oh, your support continues to be amazing. I'm actually, that's probably my favorite part, is just having somebody that we know we can count on. We have, we've had multiple conversations, emails back and forth with either yourself or your team, being able to help us with little things that maybe is above and beyond or outside the scope of what you guys actually said that you would do. But to me, that just shows the integrity of that you want to help us succeed. In addition to that, the whole team has found very helpful to have those calls with you, the biweekly calls. I think they're biweekly, just where it's, office hours, we can jump on the call and we can ask questions if we need to. That has been so huge to have access to you, the brain, the mastermind behind it all, to either think through a new process. Like I know for myself, we had an event and you helped me to kind of think through the process outside of that scope, but also to kind of further get clarification for the rest of the team on, okay, what does this thing mean? I kind of forgot. And also to having the opportunity to listen to other people who have plugged into your system, ask questions we maybe never thought of. So that community aspect, I guess like that extra team that we weren't expecting, that aren't necessarily part of your direct team, that's also been really beneficial to us.
That's so cool to hear. Yeah, I've enjoyed those calls. So last question for you. If someone were on the fence about working with us, what would you tell them?
I would say that you would be wasting time not to proceed, because if you decided to do this on your own, you will find that you're going to run into some walls or some challenges that you didn't even know that you needed to think of. And that you should just cut the check for speed and make it happen right away and get Elena and her team into your vehicle, put that engine in so that all you have to do is just get in the driver's seat and make things happen. And yeah, just save yourself the headache and just get them to do it for you right away.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for those kind words. I know people will appreciate that. And thank you, Chelsea, for your time. It's a huge help.
My pleasure. My pleasure.